This technology.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello!
How are you?
We finally made it. Oh my God. All right, we're done. Good night.
He didn't tell you I'm late to everything all the time.
Yeah,
That's
but a minute late is way cooler than like me having to call and go, I'm sorry, I fell down and had to go to the hospital because I was carrying three things rather than two things, and that's my limit. So for my for Christmas, a late Christmas present, my boss brought over a walking stick. And I am so stoked to use this walking stick because it's like a nicely, shades of wood and everything like that. But more importantly, when my wife walks around Pasadena at night, there's a lot of coyotes. So I'm going to be like in the front, like whipping that thing around and hit myself in the head, knock myself out. But enough about me.
Oh, never. I don't know. I need to know more about you, but go ahead.
Do you go? How do you want to be called? Alex, Alexandria?
So my father always said, don't be lazy with my name. So I don't let anyone call me Alex. I go by Alexandra. It's all
Okay,
9
great,
letters long.
perfect.
I'm
I,
I'm Vincenzo Federico de Giulio, by the way. So,
Vincenzo Federico de Julio. I got it all wrong.
and
But
you need to use all three every time you address me.
I'll do it.
Totally kidding. I love a dad's pride in their daughter. I've got one.
and I just
My
go
one and
by
only.
JM because I can't afford any more than just the two initials.
But Alexandra, what I'm trying to see as my eyes get older, what is your little handle there in the corner of your screen?
I don't know. What is it? Where do I even? I'm not the tech person that
What
wrestles.
say, Queen
Oh,
Esther?
Oh, yes.
Hi,
Yeah,
Queen Esther.
my Hebrew name is Esther.
okay.
Okay.
So
See,
I guess that's my passcode on my computer, and I didn't know everyone could see it. That's how bad I am. That's how I fight against tech. I always tell my husband, I'm going to be the one that saves us all when it's us against the machines because I don't think like a machine.
We're
you're
with
right.
you. We're with you.
Good. Lead the way.
We'll be the two guys in the back of the bus, racked with anxiety, uh, but trying to fight the good fight.
Yeah. Actually, we won't. We'll be handing out muffins and crying. Um, so, Alexandra, this is why I rise. This is where we hope people come to do what we were just doing, just casually chat, laugh. It's all about getting through today and making today your best day.
Yes.
When we talk with people with Parkinson's, JM approached me with this and said, you know, why not talk about the positive stuff? There's so much things out there about, oh, I'm hurting and I fall. Meanwhile, Jam tells stories like he just did. I'll be out there with my walking stick. So I'm just curious, um, how did we get the good fortune to land you on the show?
Well, my mother, may she rest in peace, was diagnosed with Parkinson's when I was 14 and a half.
Uh,
And she lived with it for many, many, many years. And and Russell knew my story, and the Parkinson's Wellness Fund actually helped me with a few things with my mother, and
that great?
I took her to one of the golfing tournaments. And one day he just asked me if I would be on the show and if I'm comfortable talking about it. And he actually taught me another phrase that I love: get comfortable in the uncomfortable. And
Yes,
that
Yeah.
that's
is
a
how I
great way to
live.
put it.
That is very much how I live. I actually love talking about what I went through because my mother was such a fighter, such a strong woman, so strong-willed in all the most beautiful ways. And even though it was so hard for me to be, I was her caretaker for many, many years. It sort of came on slowly. As you know, Parkinson's evolves so slowly and in different ways for every single person.
Yep.
Um,
We talk about that a lot.
yeah, so it
Yep.
just I guess
Hey,
I think it's such a good feeling to share a story to see if maybe anything I say could be insightful to someone, helpful to someone, make someone laugh, right? Make someone
Exactly.
feel
bingo.
connected,
That's
and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are perfect for this show because that's what we do. I got something. Jam, how old were your daughters when you got diagnosed? Oh, when you told them you?
well, we told him immediately. I
Oh,
mean, we did, my doc, I was diagnosed, I'll just say it's my birthday, but it was like December-ish, 17th-ish, 2012. And the backstory is I had been kind of feeling like something was wrong with my leg. Like I don't know what restless leg syndrome is, but I do know that I felt like I just couldn't get comfortable. And here's a name dropper. I was at the Academy Awards, hold for applause. And then I said to Heidi, I'm like, which is my wife, I said, I can't get, I mean, I was doing this the whole night. I mean, and literally that theater, the reason I bring it up is the seats are so tight, they jam you in there in that Kodak theater. So I was disrupting the guys that I knew to the left of me and my wife to the right. And finally, I just said, I got to get up. And I literally went outside and the show was going on. And I was like standing at the bar going, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, is this your anxiety kicking? I mean, would have never thought Parkinson's, would have never thrown that out there. And then over the next 2 years, my general internist doctor, who I'd been with for 20 years, said, hey, man, I need you to go to UCLA and rule out, I hate when they say that, rule out Parkinson's. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, just rule it out. And I'm like, that's an old person's issue. and because I was in the entertainment industry for 30 years and I had a lot of great experiences, which we share sometimes on this show. He said, Michael J. Fox. And to me, when you said Michael J. Fox, that was the actor I grew up wanting to be exactly like. I loved him on Family Ties. I loved him in Back to the Future. I've seen everything he's ever done. And I just realized that, okay, I'll go. And the first neurologist said, hey, can you pick up a dime off the floor? Whoops, I just racked my camera with my swinging arms. But yeah, just call me the churn. But what was interesting is the first neurologist was like, can you pick up a dime? Can you pick up, can you go like this? Yeah, this is 13 years into it. I can still do this. I can still, touch my nose and all the things that they do. So does that mean I don't have it? But basically, when I got to UCLA and met with the movement disorder specialist, that's when they diagnosed it. And that day was horrific because to me, it was a death sentence. And it was just get your shit in order. You don't have much time. You've seen what people with I've seen Michael J. Fox, and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just shut down for 4 years. But we told our daughters immediately, and they were, if I was 2012, would make me 46 when I was diagnosed. I'm now 60. So they would have been, Claire was born when I was 33. So she was probably, if she was like 10, 12 years old, maybe, someone 13, somewhere in that area. Gracie was 3 years the younger. So Gracie said something very interesting about a month ago. She said to my wife, Heidi, she said, I don't know a time when dad didn't have Parkinson's. And I'm like, well, Goose, you're 23 years old. How could how could you not know me before? Well, she goes, well, I don't remember, anything like that up until 10 or 11, like when the real memories started to kick in. And I guess when I was diagnosed, I didn't look like there was anything wrong with me. So, she took Parkinson's that way. Like, I don't know my dad without being the dad that's a Parkinson's guy.
Well, see, this is one of the reasons I can't imagine being that age and having that happen. So, Alexandra, 14 and a half, I mean, how do you handle that? And you said you were her caretaker. I don't mean to pry, but were you an only child or?
Oh, I have three older sisters. I'm the youngest. We're like Fiddler on the Roof, 2026. So we're all close in age. It actually happened. So we played basketball in high school, and my parents were at my sister's basketball game, and another person there who was a doctor, she was a woman who was friendly with my mom, and she said, Margaret, my mother's name was Margaret. She said, Margaret, you're holding your hand in such a distinct way. I think you might have Parkinson's.
Okay. Basketball game.
A basketball game. She saw the way my mother was holding her hand. And my mother came home. I remember coming home and my mother was so upset. How could this woman, right? It's embarrassing. It's insulting. What is she saying? But she couldn't get it out of her head. So she went to Kaiser and she got her MRI, and lo and behold, she had Parkinson's. And I remember they came home that day and they told us she had Parkinson's. So there was no Google. I didn't have a computer. It was kind of like, are you going to die soon? No. Right? Like, what is it? And there was no, for me, it didn't even seem heavy. I didn't really know what it was going to be. And I don't think they really knew the road ahead, but it wasn't imminent danger. So I just brushed it off as
Oh, that's good.
nothing serious. And I used to walk dogs in my neighborhood, and my neighbor, I remember I went to walk this little dog, and the owner was home, and I said, my mother was just diagnosed with Parkinson's, and she sat down and she started crying. She's like, I'm so sorry. My father had Parkinson's. And I was like, why is she crying?
Right.
Hey,
I'm like, she's fine. My mom's home and she's fine. Right? Like, why are you so sad? So I didn't really, the weight of it didn't come to me immediately at all. I just thought like, oh, people with diabetes, you're like, okay, that person's a diabetic. They're fine. They're
Right.
functioning in life. They're not going anywhere. It's just a little bit harder. You just have to adjust. So I didn't take it as anything that was going to be heavy. And then as I got older, she was in her 50s when she was diagnosed, early 50s.
But well, that would be considered
And
young onset,
exactly
correct?
50. That early onset, yes.
Yeah, because I think young onset goes to 55, and I was 46. And
Yes.
I'll give you, I'll let you get back to your story, but briefly, I was going to say this is what I heard from the doctor, and was with me for like, I feel like I was there for 2 hours, just like checking. He goes, I could do a DAT scan on you, which all it looks like is a mass of black, and then there's these two white lines that look like volume levels on our digital stereos back in the day. It's like, oh, max it out, it's all white, or whatever, all red. And he said, this is normal. He said, I do this. I would even think that your DAT scan would probably come back normal. He says, but when I look at you, you have all the symptoms of Parkinson's, the slowed movement here, the facial stare. And this is, back when I'm 46. And I said, well, I guess I should get into young onset Parkinson's. This was a mistake that the medical field made. I said, I guess I should get in a young onset Parkinson's group here in Los Angeles. And he goes, no, 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 no. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you're good for the next 5 or 10 years before it really starts to wear on you, which I'm at 13. And people could tell me all the time I look great. And I'm like, well, walk a mile in the shoes and you'll know what. I wish I could really explain to people how it feels, because it's so, they don't understand. And it's our job to educate them politely, because people want to help.
yes.
But go back. I mean, the idea that he told me that I would see people like writhing and the guy frozen, and he goes, you don't need that now in your life. And I wouldn't tell your kids. That was the other thing. And I said, look, man, my kids are young, but we don't keep anything from our children. We're a family. And he's like, okay, well, I don't think they need to know it at their ages. And I'm like, well, what am I going to fall down a flight of stairs one day and go, oh, that's Dad's Parkinson's? What the hell is that? So, what I did was we told him, and then I went into darkness for 4 years.
Well, and Alexandra, you saying that as you got older, but I want to stop you there. Of course, I'll let you continue to. JM and I are great at interrupting, I guess.
I'm so good at chopped up conversation. Hit me. Nothing is
Well,
me.
because kind of what you said at the beginning at being 14 years old is kind of what we want every Parkinson's person to kind of feel like. It's like, oh, she's going to be fine. That person says that you've got Parkinson's, you're going to be fine. And JM's coined a phrase that says, let's focus on what you can do today versus
Yes.
only looking at what your limitations today are, because they're going to be different tomorrow. They may hang on for a few days, but it will switch to something else. So you have like this 14-year-old attitude that I think is healthy. Now, I'm without Parkinson's, and in my experiences, is a couple of friends, with JM being the closest, and so I kind of get educated by them. But you had to come to that conclusion yourself, and I don't think it was a bad conclusion. Of course, you were starting to say as you got older.
Right. Well, it's also both of my parents, they both passed away recently, but they were very positive people and they looked at life in a beautiful way. So when I say I thought it was going to be okay, it's also because I think the way that it was presented to me, when my mother was not happy about it, and it was something secretive that we weren't allowed to tell anybody about. My parents my mother was very much from that generation of we don't talk about anything.
Yeah.
But that's how it was in the beginning. And it was just a very not positive, but it was like, okay, let's see what comes of it. but I wasn't, I don't know, I didn't cry. I wasn't devastated. I didn't
That's
feel
that's.
like it was going to be the end.
I think that's very healthy.
Let me ask a question, Vin, if I can slide in.
Yeah, please. No, but Jam, you did say when you heard it, you thought it was a death sentence.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, because again, it's the same thing. It's like I never knew a friend of mine is going through pancreatic cancer, and every time I say that, people go,
yeah,
"Whoa!" Like he's just going to walk through fire, and just be incinerated. I'm like, what is that reaction? That's a death sentence. He'll be gone in 4 weeks. And I'm like, the dude's been around now for the better part of 2 years. So it's like the question I want to ask about you and your mom. Because by the way, there's a beautiful picture of you and your mom on the website. Am I correct?
Yes, that's us.
Yes. Okay, cool. So, did your parents teach you gratitude, or did you learn gratitude from? Because the other day I was walking from the television to the kitchen, which is not a long walk, and I was thinking about, I think I might have been watching a football game, like NFL football, which always kind of takes me back to my childhood. We all gathered around the TV with big 49er fans, big, this craziness. And I just thought, wow, I've got this Parkinson's and woe is me. And then this other voice, which has been getting stronger, which is the non-pessimistic voice that goes, I just thought you'd be grateful you got to watch another 49er game. I mean, it's like, what are you bitching about? I mean, I was at the airport just recently to go to a birthday function, and I'm coming out of the bathroom at LAX, and a guy comes by, and he's walking. He's got no legs. He had no legs like he had a belt, and his jeans were sewed up where, like, so nothing could get through the jean, and he was walking with these gloves on, and he's going in the bathroom, and there's nobody going in with him, and I'm like, how does this guy get on the toilet? I'm like, and I said it to my wife, and she goes, we got nothing to complain about. We got nothing to bitch about. That guy is doing life. He's going, I got to piss, and then I got to go, excuse my language, and then I got to go, go get on the taxi or wherever he's going. And he was just like, like the world didn't exist to him. And people were probably going, oh, turning away, turning the kids away. You don't need to see that. That's an unfortunate soul. I don't know about that.
No,
He might
no,
be a very fortunate soul.
no,
very fortunate.
I want to jump in because my dad had a stroke and he was in a wheelchair, and I would take him out. And my father looked up at me one time. It was so sad because my father was a pretty positive, strong guy too. But he looked at me and goes, "No one looks me in the eye anymore." When I'm so now, and he has since passed. Now, anytime I see somebody in a wheelchair, I just look at them, smile, and I would say almost 100% I get a smile back. My people don't want to look at me. And my wife had cancer, and she was bald for quite some time, and people would almost like kind of back off of her, like it was contagious. So that's another reason we want to do this podcast, talking with people like you and how you navigated life and how you can keep it positive.
Oh, gosh, I have so many things I want to say. I'll just start what comes to the top of my head, and if I digress, please get
No,
me.
you're our guest. Go.
There's no digressing on this channel. This
Okay,
is the
great.
digressing free website.
Something I just spoke to a friend of mine about this week, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll talk about it on the podcast. She was asking me about TV shows. I don't watch a lot of TV, and I said, there was one point in life where I didn't watch any TV because when my mother's Parkinson's was very bad, sometimes all she could do was sit around and watch TV all day. So what I did when I saw that is I said, if I have legs, I'm walking. I went swing dancing. I went hiking. Someone invited me somewhere. I did everything. Talk about gratitude and perspective.
Yeah.
Seeing how she wasn't able to, I said, I'm going to watch TV when I can't really do other things. Like that,
Right.
that was my mental choice because I said, if I have it, I'm going to use it. And I do watch TV. I do enjoy movies, don't get me wrong, but it definitely gave me a perspective on everything I could do. And
It's great.
and I think it sort of, I don't know, forced me to have that perspective because I saw my mother was such a doer in life. And that was another thing with Parkinson's. She did not let anything stop her. I mean, she fell,
Right.
she was constantly falling because she would reach for something high up that she would be on my brother-in-law, his memory of her is like stepping on a stepping stool to get something, but she was so hunched over with her stoop posture.
Yeah.
Oh, and and the dyskinesia and the tremors, whatever it was that day. But she wanted to get that one item from the pantry because she wanted to make something. She would cut
Yeah,
fingers because she wanted to cook, whatever it was. Like she was so defiant of the Parkinson's as much as she could be.
exactly.
And I think just watching all of that, and my father was also, my father and I, my sisters helped as well, but my father and I and my mother, we all lived together. So I think we were in it for the day-to-day stuff, but they also had a very good sense of humor about things. It's not, it's not, it's not easy. It was not easy for her to have her daughter do a lot of things to her that most kids never have to do to their parents, whatever.
But you know what? We trade places. When I
Yeah.
had to hear my dad like that, I go, "Didn't you do this for me?"
Yes, yes. So we would make those jokes, or it's it's like you said, some people, there were actually some friends who felt uncomfortable coming over. And the end of my mother's, the end of the Parkinson's, her voice left. And she used to sing like a nightingale. She had the most poetic, beautiful, like the when she spoke, when she sang, I mean, better than any voice I've ever heard. And her voice went and she would whisper or mumble, and it made people uncomfortable. So they would just stop coming to visit. This
Mhm.
woman who opened their home, opened her table, did everything for everybody. You talk about like people weren't comfortable to look at your dad because it's such a missed opportunity for people in life.
Mhm.
It is completely.
And it's also something on the people who are going through it to sort of not like just get past, of like, okay, you're missing out, sort of like I'm gonna keep on. I love my mother. I'm visiting her, and encourage them and just say, even if you're uncomfortable, she's just happy to see you.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
she has nothing to talk to you about. Just tell her all your problems because she's never gonna tell your secrets, like
Yeah.
I would just try to have a spin on it, but
Let me ask you a question. Were you able to come to, when was the last time you went to the golf tournament? Has it been years?
it's been years. It's probably been
Okay.
4 or 5 years. I do want to come again because I enjoyed it when I went there. I took my I took my mother there once, and she
It
really, yeah.
it's so well run, and we, I kind of have become somewhat of a de facto ambassador to try to talk on behalf of the Wellness Fund, but really it's just about talking. But what was interesting is Russell asked me to step up and say something the first year I went, and then the second year he said, "Why don't you do it again?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to think about this." And so I had notes and everywhere, and I don't know if it was one of the guys that was playing golf with me. I don't know if it was Vinny or whoever, but they said, just speak from the heart. And what was ironic is I was able to step back and look at the 10, including Vin, 10 of my friends had come. Some had come as far as Sacramento to this golf tournament. Many of them didn't play. They just came to buy the dinner and hang out. And I realized that this is what is most important is, you know, your family, I don't want to say is obligated because nobody's obligated to do anything, but your family feels the pressure to take care of the one. That's what families do. But the friends want to help, but you've got the ones that don't feel comfortable seeing the person like this, or you got the other ones that don't know what to do. And I remember, do you know who Jimmy Choi is?
Yes, why do I know that name? Is he a chef?
No, Jimmy Choi. That's well, there's Jimmy Choo shoes, but it's not it's Jimmy Choi. He was a chef, believe it or not. He had restaurants, I believe, but he's now an advocate for the Fox Foundation. He's the guy who did all of the not Iron Man, but what are those things that they do on tele? Go ahead.
Yes, that's why yes,
Yeah, he was the
like all those cooking shows. So I feel like
no, but what was the one that he did?
I
American Ninja. He did American Ninja, where he said his story is amazing. He said he was 200 plus pounds, walking down the stairs with a cane, had his daughter or his infant child in his arm, and he slipped because of his gait and everything, and he went down on his back. Thankfully, he was able to hold the child safely, and then he just changed his story. Now he's an endurance trainer. It's incredible the stuff that he does. But I was able to go. I used to go to a boxing class before the pandemic, and he was a guest speaker one day, and the lady that ran it put him with me, and I'm like, this guy's just like punching a bag, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, after 10 seconds of doing this, I'm like, okay, I need some water, and he's just like, boom, and sweat's just pouring off him, and I'm like, yo, dude, you're making me look bad. He goes, So we laughed, and he goes, "Have you told everybody?" I said, "No, I work in the entertainment industry, and I don't know. I don't want people to think that they can't trust me to go out on location, or they can't trust me to travel, and so they don't give me the gig." So I kept it pretty quiet. And he said, "No, that's a mistake." He said, "You got to tell everybody." He said, "Because those that love you will put a tight ring around you and protect you, and those who bail out, you didn't want there anyway." And it's funny because, I mean, my friends will call up. I mean, I have a friend who's a pastor, and he'll call up and he goes, "Dude, you are incredibly, you live a charmed life and you're blessed." And I'm like, okay, that's from a guy who doesn't have Parkinson's, who doesn't have this, who hasn't lost his fortune, trying to keep his business together for years in a sinking ship. And I'm like, but the point he was making is that he's an outsider looking in. And it was said to me that we are exclusive members of a club nobody wants to join, but it doesn't mean we can't invite people in to see who we really are. And that's what we try to do with this, is that I'm not afraid to take a question that may or may not make me uncomfortable, because if it makes somebody feel better, or if I can reach one person and they feel good about what we're talking about on any one of these episodes, then we've done our job.
And I like how you said your mom's Parkinson's made you feel grateful for the things that you could do. And JM always shifts that to Parkinson's people. It's like, okay, so look, you inspired your daughter, but you can do more than you're doing. He's talking about the people who get depressed and don't want to get off the couch. And obviously, you took that, your mom's condition of heart, you took care of her, but you also took care of yourself. And caregivers need to take care of themselves. I always tell the story that's so boring about, what they say on the airlines. When the thing drops down, do yourself first, because you need a lot of stamina to be a caregiver.
I was not very good at taking care of myself, but I was. I was and I wasn't. Like
I was there.
I made sure that I kept my joy for life. But I was not there. There were many people who would tell me, you shouldn't be taking care of your mother. You spend too much time this is not your role. Because I wasn't, I got married later in life. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're single because,
right.
That sounds like every person from all of our parents' generation saying that, Vin is Italian, I'm Italian Irish, you're Jewish. And it's just sort of like, all of these people all have the same thought process at a certain age cutoff. Like the whispering, like, what's wrong with him? He's got cancer. We're transplanted from Brooklyn, New York. Vinny is transplanted from Boston. So we get that mentality of somebody thinking they're doing good by saying, you're so beautiful, you should be out.
Yes.
And that, I mean, that's my mother's sister, my mother. I mean, it's just like the things that my mom will say sometimes. I'm like, where's this coming from? I mean, you're bewildered about something, or what did she say the other day? It was just something that she was like trying to get a point across, that she didn't feel she was getting the short shrift, if you will. And I'm like, I don't know why. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the question I wanted to ask you is, you had to make a tough decision, you and your dad, and put your mom in a assisted care.
Yes.
And based on the way your mom, I read her bio, which is, first of all, this is the J.M. Kenny, like, fight till you go down kind of thing. I can't stand in our society when I hear that somebody like your mom and her sister, I believe, or was it her brother?
Twin sister?
The twin sister, right? Twin sisters. They fled Budapest.
In 1956, they escaped.
Right.
They were hidden as 1-year-old twins during the Holocaust. They were like,
they were born in the shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was going down.
1943. Yes.
Right. So, I just think that if you got through that horrible experience, you got to pass. It's just so like the good Lord would go, okay, say your mom's name for me.
Margaret.
Okay, we should always say her name so she's never forgotten. But
in Hungarian, Monika. Can you say that?
Monica.
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 It was
Wow.
Margaret.
I,
Margitka. It
I,
was
I,
Margitka, Monica. Either one.
I'll,
Margitka.
I'll say
You
Margaret
can say Margaret.
because otherwise I don't want to butcher it any, but like my boss said to me, I still work, and my boss said to me, no, well, my old boss said to me, he was, he took me out to lunch, and we were just kind of hanging, and he was seeing how I was doing and feeling and everything. And he goes, you and your wife have taken some serious punches. Financially is one thing, but Heidi went through breast cancer, and and I've got this, and it's just like, and he's like, I don't know how you guys do it. And I'm like, I don't know, and maybe I don't want to know because then all the odds will be revealed. But the idea that your mom had to endure that and probably lost people that she could, the list must be ridiculously long.
Yes.
How did she feel? I mean, did she ever go, I had to go through that. Now I got to go through this. Did she ever lose it like that? Or did she ever just always kept it, not about her?
The only time I ever heard her say the F word was Parkinson's on a really hard day, but she'd never, no, not, my father was also a Holocaust survivor. He was in the camps. He was born in 1928, so he was a teenager in it. But neither of them ever said, she would say, like, why do I have Parkinson's? Why did this happen to me? And then she would go into the whole, like, did I do something wrong? That.
Yeah, right.
Am I being punished for something?
What's my penance?
But no, neither of my parents ever said, I've already gone through so much. Why do I have to also endure this? It's interesting that you're saying that because I never thought about it in that way, but
well, that's me. It's like, and Heidi, look, 4 years after it, I mean, I'm sure I don't talk a lot about a lot of stuff, but Heidi's like, you don't really remember, do you? I mean, you went off the deep end. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm the same guy. Hey, look at me. I'm talking jokes and telling people, drinking beer, and she goes, I didn't know if I would come home and you would be hanging from the rafters, or you would have just taken all of your shit and left. And I didn't know what you were going to do. And what had happened is, in the fourth year, she came to, I remember, now this could be me editorializing it for my own benefit, but we were walking down the hallway. You remember the house, Vinny, that you took us to when I had the surgery? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, I had heart surgery also in there in 2015. I forget that. When I recently fell here at the apartment, and the paramedics had to come because I hit my head. And they were like, the guys, he goes, do you mind if I open up your shirt? I want to get an EKG on you. And I'm like, yeah. And he opens up button the shirt. And he goes, oh, what got you the zipper? Because when you have heart surgery, you've got the zipper right here. And he goes, you want to tell me about that? And I'm like, oh yeah, that was 2015. And I was trying to be as cognizant as possible, because I think they were thinking like, this guy's delusional. Because at one point, my wife, brilliant Heidi, she was I heard her talking to a friend afterwards, and she's like, yeah, so there I am. I'm standing there in yoga pants and a sweaty old t-shirt, and around the corner, walking much like the right stuff, come 6 gorgeous firefighters. And then one firefighter goes, he's got the coat, I think they call him the turnout coat, whatever, he's got the big coat on, and he's like, so who is this guy to you? And she's like, what? And he goes, who is this guy to you? And she's like, he's my husband. And he's like, okay, everything's good. She's like, they wanted to see if she was like, either I was, we were beating each other with a baseball bat or something like that. I'm like, no, there's no violence here. I fell down because I have Parkinson's and I did too much. I asked my body and my mind to do too much. But shit, now I lost my train of thought. What were you saying right before that? Didn't reel me in.
Talking about you having you asked me if my mom ever had a hard day.
Oh, thank you.
But she did. I shouldn't say she did, and I also don't want to sugarcoat. She definitely had hard days, but she always got up.
Right. And
you blocked out that 4 years.
Exactly. And this is what thank you. Well done. Let's switch places. Where are you, by the way? Where are we calling you? Are you in New York or Atlanta?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, you are? Because everything was Eastern time. So I was like, why are we on Eastern time? But so what I was saying is, my wife came down the hallway and we kind of met in the middle, and she said, I need to share something with you. And I said, what? And my wife is very spiritual, very kind of connected person, So she said, I had a dream or a vision, I'm not sure what it was meant to be, that you were given Parkinson's as a gift. Now, when somebody says that to a person with Parkinson's, if the person with Parkinson's was to write, list all the emotions that you feel about the fact that you've been given Parkinson's, where do you think a fucking gift would be on the list? Woo! If even on the list.
That's me.
And so I'm looking at her and I'm going, gift? It's a fucking, and I'm swearing because this is the actual, story. I go, it's a fucking death wish. I mean, it's a death certificate. And she goes, yeah, you're absolutely right. It could be, or you could do something with it. And that's when I started doing all this stuff. And I started realizing it's like, I ended up getting hooked up with Russell, and he sent JT over, and they did this interview, which is on the website. JT interviewed me for 45 minutes, just me, and I was asking questions, and I'm like, I don't know what normal is, but I don't want to take my life because I don't like my life the way it is because it used to be better. I don't think it was. I came up with a title that I want to write a memoir. And by the way, memoir is a really lofty word for my life. But this thought came into my mind that Parkinson's destroyed my career. Not really, but saved my life. Because I was going down a path that the money was coming in, more money was coming in, the cars, this, that. And then all of a sudden, it was like, if I had stayed on that trajectory, minus the change in the content business in Hollywood, I might have been really wealthy and really stupid.
It's true. It's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. I mean, I literally was starting to have these, like, I was on location on a film, and a great film. The directors and producers were friends, and it was a great experience. And I was staying at the Eden Rock Hotel on Miami Beach. Well, what I didn't know about those beaches is they're optional topless. So I'm standing there having whatever I'm drinking, maybe a beer, and I'm sitting there looking at this incredible ocean, and I'm not even focused on the people passing by. And all of a sudden I catch one, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm looking around like I've done something wrong. Like, am I on the wrong beach? And I realize I'm 46 years old. This is not a married with 2 kids man's job. This is a single person or a young guy, young gal. And that's when I realized that, do I really want to be doing this? And I don't know if I believe I manifested it one way or the other, but I don't know if that moment at 46, because then I got diagnosed immediately after that with Parkinson's. Then I had 2015, the heart procedure. Then Heidi got sick, and we dealt with all of that. And I don't know if many of this stuff are lessons that we can learn from. That's why I always ask, when somebody like your mother goes, it's what it is. Or, she's like, I'm just happy to be able to cook a meal, or I'm just happy to go to the basketball game and watch the kids play with the grand.
She was frustrated on a daily basis
without a doubt, because you can't. She was
frustrated with everything.
You can't do sometimes anything.
No, you can't walk sometimes if there's not, like, I realize, patterns really help. Why is she so good at stairs? And why is she so terrible at walking, taking 5 steps in, the living room? It was an interesting, insight for me on Parkinson's, but it was frustrating all the time. You just can't stop living.
Right.
No, you can't.
But then you have that desire to go, and I'm obviously speaking from my observations. You have that desire to go forward, but sometimes you're limited, and you weren't limited before, and that is part of the frustration.
It was also embarrassing for her to have stooped posture. It was embarrassing for her to have to, oh my God, to have to get her to use a walker she fell so many times before she agreed to that. It's like, oh God, how many times are you going to take a spill till you realize, I don't want to be an old lady and have that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's.
And the reason I brought up the picture is because if you look at the two of you, she looks very young.
She had the best skin.
To me, and great hair.
Tough, but yeah, she had a big afro every day of my life.
And I just looked at her, and I could see like a little bit of the stare, the kind of that feeling. But I thought, and I didn't know who you were, but I was just going to the website, and I'm like, oh, this must be somebody who's either part. I thought originally you were Russell's sister, which was I don't know why, but I thought you were Russell's sister. But I just know that people there's a burn rate that can be severe or can be subtle in things that you do. Like I couldn't do jumping jacks. I could always do jumping jacks and a lot of them. And all of a sudden one day I couldn't get my hands to go up and my legs to go out at the same time, And I thought, okay, there it goes. I can't do it. I wrote it off. When the boxing coach would go, all right, let's do 20 jumping jacks and then we'll hit the bag for 20 minutes or 20 seconds or whatever he would do. I just stand there. And then she goes, well, why don't you just simulate it? Like just move one leg, bring it back to center, move the other leg, bring it back to center, move the other leg. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, maybe half a year to a year ago, all of a sudden I could do jumping jacks again. Makes no sense. Now, is that me in my brain stressing out about it? So I just quit it. And then finally I said, hey, we're good. You just need to pick the right, just pick the right cadence or whatever. And I could do a jumping jack again. All I want to do is one jumping jack again. And I'm like, so, I mean, again, I think that people from an older generation are less bombarded with the things that our people today are bombarded with in the media and social media and the technology. And I just think that it's hard sometimes to try to keep up when you have this disease. And it's that keeping up is a sense of, for many people, a failure. And it really is just the way life is. This is the path you're on.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed all the time. I still get stacks of mail that I have to go through, and I find life overwhelming. So I can imagine somebody who's already feeling limited having to deal with all the stuff that we all have to deal with.
My gardener's right outside the window. Can you hear it?
No.
What is it? Your gardener?
Yeah, they're doing gardening. I'm like,
No.
a leaf blower. I'm like, oh, great, perfect timing.
So we're good.
Okay, so what was the question? I couldn't focus.
Well, we didn't really ask a question. We were just talking about the limitations you might have with the disease and how life. He's talking about being bombarded. I get bombarded.
Yes.
You can't buy anything anymore without getting 7 emails a day from bought it from. So, I mean, you got to go through that. And then I have a problem with my mail piling up. And and we're talking about people who are already frustrated and limited. And that's why we keep trying to uplift people and say, we all have that problem. You have a little bit of a limitation, but do what you can. No?
Yes.
But it's really hard when you feel like your hurt is unique to you and no one can understand you, right?
Right.
You start with that, right? Because why is this happening to me? Oh my God, I can't believe I have to deal with this. I really just think it all comes down to a positive perspective. And my father was so good. My father was much nicer to my mother as a caregiver than I was. I would get frustrated or short. I'm like, what do you want to tell me? I don't hear you, speak up. And I think my father being there for my mother and always telling her she was beautiful and always being patient with her, I think that helped her tremendously through the years, and it helped her to be positive because he never looked at her as a burden or spoke to her as if she was a burden. Never rushed her through anything. And I don't think you can do it alone, is what I would say. I think if you are suffering with this on your own or without somebody who's at least one person, who's loving on you and motivating you and just reminding you that your life is so beautiful, I don't think you're going to have a reason to get off the couch. I think it all lies in that. I think
that's true. That's true. But the one thing you're saying, which I think is brilliant, is that you're talking to everybody. You're at this moment, you're no longer talking to people with Parkinson's. They're in the circle, but it's sort of like Parkinson's is one of the many things I have. I also have a good sense of humor. I also have a lot of love for my wife and children. I also have a cool car. I do whatever I do. I also have this little tremor that peaks up every once in a while, but it's very minimal. I could sit here and just, and we did this as practices, write down gratitude lists. What are you grateful for? You'd be surprised how simple things are, like watching the rain outside my window, and people forget that we can't do it alone, period. We can all go live in a shack and become the Unabomber, but, the idea is that our society is really meant to be that we're together. And I think that social media is keeping us apart.
Yeah, I think I did eventually take my mother to like chair exercise classes, and she loved it. She looked forward to it. I would take her to these. I okay, this is it. I would take her out. We would go places. This is an inappropriate, funny, inappropriate story, but it made me laugh. I wanted to share it. One time I took her to see a movie called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
It's an older movie. Okay. I like artsy movies. I took my mother to see it, and it's about a person who's stuck in their body, right? I think he had a stroke, whatever, and he could only blink one eye. 10 minutes into the movie, my mother is in her wheelchair. She's like, get me out of here. I hate this movie. I'm so bored. Okay. So, like, it's this beautiful, like, tragic, everyone in there's crying movie. And the whole time, my mother is like, get me out of here. We leave there laughing so hard because
Right.
basically I made her sit. She couldn't escape. She couldn't escape the movie about the guy who couldn't escape his. So it was like, just get out and just, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be, but it's like, it really is the craziest things that can give you perspective by just getting out there or taking someone to something or visiting someone or getting yourself out. Like there's so many things that are hard in society that everyone has to deal with. It's endless.
Right. Yes.
Some
Right.
people are like, they don't like how they look, so they're, try to keep up with that. Some people don't care about that. They care about how much money they have. Some people just care about health, right? It's like, it's so different for everyone, and we all have our own suffering and challenge, and we all have to, well, what can I tell you? We all have to just, I don't know, try to overcome it.
Yeah.
It's a great point because there's a saying that goes, I hope I'm getting this right, but there's a saying that goes, nothing seems as big as it is. Nothing is as big as it seems, and nothing is as small as it seems. The idea being we make a mountain out of a molehill, and then we disregard things that might be more important because they're no longer germane to us. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, up until you get something, how often do you think of Parkinson's? Unless you're in, now you think about it more. All three of us have been affected by it in many ways. I've got it. Your mom had it. You were a caregiver. You're a caregiver. To me, as much as you, well, not as much as you were to Robin, but the idea that all of a sudden, it's like we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but we never want to cross that bridge. So you worry about things and you make them bigger than they seem. And then and eventually they're not. But you've wasted energy and time feeling like, oh, you know what? Life sucks. Here's why. All right. Well, all right. Fair enough. Get them all out. Write them down. I will support you. Oh, I had that one. You pegged me there and you pegged me there. I don't know about that, but and then you go down the list and go, okay, now write what's good in life. And then they take a pause, and we're trained to think of problem solving rather than not creating a problem at all. It's like, what do you do? I mean, why are we thinking about this, down the line when it could never come to fruition? Let's worry about it when we have to worry about it, and then we'll get it done. But that's not the way I was trained to have 100. I was really trained to have 5 backup plans, but my boss was like, you should probably have 100 ways we can get our ass out of this, the situation if it comes into fruition. I'm like, all right. I write them all down, and he goes, and then we'll probably use 101. So I hope you wrote that one down too. Meaning that you never stop problem solving. You never stop thinking about what if. I hate the term what if, because somebody goes, well, what if we go out there and there's a shark in the backyard and he eats us all? I go, what if you go out in the backyard and $1 million drops on your head? And you go, yeah, we'll probably be paralyzed from the neck down, so we won't be able to enjoy the $1 million. But we'll, it's like pessimistic viewpoint is people. I feel, again, my wife would say this is a J stat, meaning it's a JM statistic that's made up, generally speaking, for emphasizing a thought. But the reality that I feel that we're better talked about being ready for the worst shit to happen than ever be ready for the best stuff to happen. That makes sense to you guys?
Yes, but my mother was a person who worried about things all the time.
Right.
She was a worrier.
Okay, well, here's where I'm going to go with that now.
Natural.
I believe, and again, this is simply me, so anybody watching this is not like I think the be all end all and the only way to do it, but I think that stress and anxiety helped create, if not didn't create, the situation I am. I worried, and it was all about shit. It's like somebody's going to come to the door and take me away because I said something to somebody and they pissed them off and they're going to have me killed or whatever. Okay, that's probably as realistic as the gold bar dropping out of the sky and hitting me on the head, But the reality is that my brain would go, click and worry about that thing. Like, oh, thank God you give us something to worry, because that's all we do all day. The brain is there to make sure the brain is there to make sure your body functions. The mind is there to make sure it keeps your body safe. So it's telling you, don't, you know what, sit on the couch, because you're safe on the couch, because there could be a bear outside that door. and it's going to eat you. I mean, it's ridiculous, the things that we let stop us, but would they stop us? But I used to say I could feel it. And I'd say, like, I could feel like I could cure cancer, and the world was just like, this is the guy. He finally did it. Oh my God! Everybody could be celebrating me. The next day, I could walk out and somebody goes, "Are those the shoes you're wearing with those pants? Yeah, you got no taste." And all of a sudden, I'd be like deflated. Like I had let that bother me over the fact that I just cured cancer. Or I just hit the home run in the bottom of the ninth to beat the Dodgers, and the Giants go on to the World Series, whatever. I mean, that it's amazing. And this is me. I'm not saying everybody, but this is me. The way I was trained, or the way I trained myself, was to think of the worst case scenario and back out from there. Well, if you're living in the worst case scenario, your brain doesn't know whether it's real or whether it's a fantasy.
It's when you're also raised in like more of a survival mode, or by survival,
Right.
like and how you think about it. Because my mother was very much always, we didn't have, we were renting an apartment, we didn't have money. My father was a plumber. We didn't own any properties. It's not like we had.
Right.
She was always worried about real things. And my father, who should have been worried and had been through the worst, was like, it's all okay. It's
I
the
love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. I struggle myself with depression and anxiety, and I'm along with JM. I don't know how that physically impedes me. So I try really hard, and this is very helpful to me, to just stay positive. I mean, our heads are all above water. We each have our challenges and our problems, but
yes.
breathe. That's what I keep.
Just, and also it's so hard to remember, like, I don't know, you feel useless. Like, I know that my mother definitely felt useless a lot. She couldn't write anymore at one point. It's just, you just feel like nothing, but you're never useless. Like, you're always something to somebody, whether it's a confidant, or someone to laugh with, or someone to yell at, or someone to fight with. Like, you're always something to somebody. And it goes back to, like, even your simple thing of, even your existence of walking outside and looking someone in the eye that maybe went a whole day without someone looking at them in the eye, makes such a big difference. And by the way, my mother also was bipolar. So she also dealt with that. Um,
What was she? I didn't hear what she was.
yeah, my mother
Bipolar.
was
Oh,
bipolar. Like,
bipolar.
it
Okay.
was very steady most of my life. She had a few episodes that my sisters and I and my father, mostly my father helped get her out of. We just sort of went through it, but she also struggled with emotions, but she was still, I don't know. I think of my mother's life. That's what I'm telling you. I don't think of my mother as someone with Parkinson's and someone who was bipolar. I think of my mother as the most beautiful woman who sang, like I said, just like the nicest songbird, and who had the most beautiful penmanship, and who always made the best food, and who I think of everything she was. I don't think of, I know the struggles. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I don't sugarcoat anything she has been through, or I had to do for her, or any of that. But that's not what she left me with. Like, everything she left me with is the real stuff.
And she
That's
was
what matters.
that real stuff for as long as she could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, go ahead.
do all of that stuff for as long as she physically could,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason you have that impression, is she didn't just give up and sit on the couch. She got frustrated, she got angry, all that stuff, but she still persevered to be who she always was.
Yes.
Long.
Yes. It's not easy. No one's gonna say life is easy, but no one's like it again. You can look at everything with a good eye or with a bad eye, and
Yeah.
every day in your life, and every moment in your life, you choose. Like you're saying, you could cure cancer, and you feel like you're high on the top of the world, and then someone tells you your shoes are ugly, and you're like a puddle on the ground.
Right.
Like, how old do you have to be to get wise about what matters? I don't know the answer. I'm not that wise yet. I'm just
Right.
it's
Well, I think it's a choice. I think what we always feel is like we have no choice. And you always have a choice. I mean, it may not be the choice that you desire, and it may not be the choice that brings you to the best environment, but you always have a choice. And I think what you're, if I'm guessing her right, is when I first started asking questions about the what's going to be Parkinson's kind of thing, and I started researching, and they said most people don't die from Parkinson's; they die with Parkinson's, meaning there's other comorbidities. I'd never heard that term before. Well, what the hell is comorbidities? I know what those words mean apart from each other, but what do they mean when they're together? And he goes, it means you probably die from a heart attack before. Okay, so there's another fucking thing I got to worry about, because that's how Vinny. I tell this story a lot because it describes Vinny and I. But his beautiful wife and my beautiful wife and our beautiful daughters went out to wine country, and we decided to go down to, I think it was Morro Bay. Was it Morro Bay or was it San Luis Obispo?
No, it was Morro Bay.
Okay, so we went to Morro Bay, and our wives, far more skilled at life and anything in general than us, the two of us, we would go and we went to work every day, and that's what we knew. We'd see each other in the hallways at Universal Studios. By the way, I was going to say that you were talking about Amazon, or you talk about you buy something, you get 7 emails selling you more.
Yeah.
1998 or 99, you said to me, you know what the greatest thing about Amazon is? It's a book sales place, but what they do is they go, hey, you like the movie Animal House? Well, here's 6 others. Because you thought that was the greatest sales tool. Now you're like,
yeah, now
30 years later, like, fuck those guys. But what was, where was I going? What was the story I was going with? I'm limited to one story.
We were down on a pier.
Oh, we're down on a pier. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so
Morro Bay.
So we're watching the girls, and they're all just like chit chatting, and we're walking together, and we're getting closer and closer. And I could see the both of us going, not to each other, but it felt like we were saying it. So we're going, we got to get in that boat. And that boat, when you sit in it, it's like 4 inches to the water. I could dip my hand. So we're looking at each other. Hey, everything's cool, and we're in the boat.
The bar. There was a nice outdoor bar.
Yeah. And he's like, why don't we just go up there? And they're like, come on, you fools, get in the boat. So the kids split up, and then Robin and my wife Heidi, I think, did they go together or did they take somebody? We were literally.
We thought we were going to go with our wives, and they jumped in the same canoe together and took off.
And not a canoe, by the way, a kayak. That's a different body shape and the way you sit there. So we're looking at this kayak, and I'm like, well, is that backwards or is this forwards? And we're trying to make up our minds. And literally we're going across from the dock to like the island. I mean, you could probably have walked it because the water's not that deep, but there's sea lions and everything. So we're going across, and the guy goes, all right, buddies, let's get in it. And he starts giving us a thing. And I said, hang on a second. You just need to know that these are the 2 most anxiety-riddled people in society. So he goes, oh, okay. And he gets his, so we didn't realize that you're supposed to go, one guy goes left, one guy goes right. We're going left, and we're just doing a circle the whole time. And the foul language was just brilliant. I mean, it was just a brilliant, like a Christmas Story foul language thing.
Watching us, these 2 adult men, all the girls gone. He and I sitting in the thing going, literally in circles. Then we're yelling at each other, you shouldn't do that. And we would just messes. We get to the island, you guys okay? And we were all shaking, going, is there another way back? Do I have to take that back?
At one point, I remember that one of us was sitting in the wrong direction. So instead of like turning the seat, we were like, one was facing the other. And the guy's like, you need to, okay, there you go. And I could just see him going, for $8.75 an hour, this isn't worth it.
So we have our struggles as well. I was just wondering if I'm not asking something, is that wine you're drinking? Because I want to join you.
Me?
Yeah.
Is that why I'm drinking?
No, I says, is that wine?
Oh, no, it's Jamaica. It's hibiscus. Do you know what that is? No.
Yes. I do.
Yeah, I do.
My friend brings it over every once in a while, and I love it. It's refreshing.
It is.
And I'm drinking it.
Is it a Starbucks hibiscus?
No, I make it myself. It's hibiscus dry flowers. You can get it from Vallarta, one of those markets.
Yep.
That has like different things than your average Joe place.
Right.
And you just put it in water, you boil it for 4 minutes like a tea, and then you can make a big batch.
Or you could go to Erewhon and spend $92.50 for one packet.
Exactly. This is like, this is just the flowers that I hand make for like $3. And
So, Alexandra, let me ask you this question.
yes.
You've not stopped your advocacy for Parkinson's, cure research, or in the case of what Russell and Amy do so well, which is we're trying to take care of you today. I mean, each of us has come to Russell for something that is not, hey, we need more beds or we need this. So like, I need a ramp built so I can get the wheelchair up, or we need to put some stuff in the house to do this, that, and other. We need a cane or whatever. But what do you tell when people talk to you? Are you going around talking to people? Or are you just like,
So I know a lot of people between my sisters and myself. We're just very social people. So anyone whose parent has Parkinson's or who gets diagnosed with Parkinson's, which happens to, I mean, there are plenty of people who unfortunately have to struggle with it. They all call me because they know that I was a caregiver for my mother for so many years.
right,
And they ask me a lot of questions, and I try to be a resource. And the Parkinson's Wellness Fund is where I send everybody when it goes past what I can tell them from my experience or what I know. I've had to help people who, they're like, my father just got diagnosed with Parkinson's. I'm freaking out. What is it? What happens? What does it mean? So I've had,
right.
start, just, oh, this is my experience. And then when it goes beyond that, a lot of people are helped by resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, sometimes their mom needs help. They're like, my mother's, she's the caregiver, she's scared, and now there's all this equipment in the house and it really bothers her. It's like there's so much to talk through to anybody who has to deal with it, because there are phases of it that are not pretty, and it's like, oh, how did you get through it? It's like, well, I did, so you will too. It's kind of like,
And I, aside, I think you do, double duty because you have the personal experience, but you also have gone through the resources. Because I'm sure when this happens, you all think you're alone. It's like, oh, and then all of a sudden, like Jam introduced me to Russell and I'm seeing the care and the love that's going into helping people, and that's what drew me in. I mean, is like, oh my God, this can be Parkinson's, this can be anything, but these people, meaning the wellness fund, they really care about their people and trying to get them what they want. So, besides going through it yourself, you can refer people to resources, right?
and it's sort of by word of mouth, because when I was younger, I didn't know anyone who had to take care of their parents.
Right.
No one I could talk to. And even like navigating through trying to get help from my mother through the healthcare system for a few hours a day, because we couldn't leave my mother alone. That's why we ended up moving her into a home, because my father had a heart attack. He couldn't lift her anymore. I couldn't do a 24-hour shift. That's the only reason she lived with us for many, many years, where he would take night shift, I would take day shift, because she would wake up in the night, and it's like having a it's like sort of newborn,
Like,
newborn schedule for a long time, for many years. Um,
but when your dad had a heart attack, you had to move.
we had When my father had a heart attack, that's when my mother said, I think I need to move into a nursing facility.
Oh,
And one of my sisters took her around to different ones. One of them, she went in, she said, I'd rather die, please kill me before putting me in this one. But we found a really nice one. It was called the Jewish Home for the Aging. It was clean, the staff was incredible, everything was incredible. So she volunteered to go in, because my father was gonna no longer be able, when you have an angiogram, you can't lift.
right.
We needed to lift her for everything all day. I mean,
Right.
Not to mention as a trade as a plumber. I mean, that must have just crushed him when he couldn't do the things that he liked to do.
nothing crushed my father.
Nothing crushed him.
He was like Popeye the Sailor Man and Jacques Cousteau, Superman. I don't know how to
Oh, I
describe.
love it. Awesome.
Um, no, he went right back to doing everything. It took him a minute. This is a whole different. I can talk about him on a whole different podcast. But he
We
ended
can do another. We can do a part two, part three, part four, whatever you
part
want.
two. So I'm gonna just not start talking about him, because then I won't stop. But that's when my mother volunteered. That's when she moved into a nursing home. But what I'm saying is, all of that is so hard to navigate. So if you have and it's really hard if you're just calling a 1-800 number, Medi-Cal, whatever, something that's just generic. You don't even know what resources you can get.
Right.
Right.
So that's why this foundation is that's why I send everyone, because I always say, if you try on your own, you're into many hours of waiting on hold, trying to figure things out, hitting roadblocks, getting nowhere. And there are people who are more knowledgeable who could just help you get what you need.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the advocacy that I try to tell people. And I'm like, look, even if it's a non-for-profit organization and it's run by these two beautiful people that happen to have 3 or 4 beautiful kids. So they've got other commitments, they've got jobs, they've got things they need to do. And I said, so, $5, $50, $100, whatever it is, it helps tremendously to aid them in what they're doing, and they don't get paid for this. And what's really funny is somebody actually got one of my friends on my, I have like a high school kind of reunion group that kind of still sticks together, and I think we just did 40 years or something like that last summer, 41. But so I'm old, that's what I'm saying. But what was interesting is one of the ladies went on there, and she said, "This is amazing." And it was that kind of cool, like innocent, like, wow, I would have had the expectation was totally different going in, which I always say, don't have any expectations at all, because then you're most open to enjoy yourself. I mean, that's like, I mean, my whole life was been expecting something and then getting something. I've told this story, which I will not tell here, but about the landing on an aircraft carrier. And I didn't pay attention to the details in the beginning. So when somebody said, we need somebody to go to Honolulu, I was like, yeah. What are we doing? We're going to shoot some behind the scenes of them doing this. They're adding a scene to the movie. I'm there. Flew in a nice, comfortable jet, got there. And I'm like, where's the boat? Because we were at the dock in Pearl Harbor. And the guy goes, oh, the boat's out to sea. I'm like, what do you mean out to sea? He goes, like 200 miles out to sea. I go, well, how do we get there? A little skiff or something like that? And he goes, no, we fly. And all of a sudden, this flop sweat just hit me. I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm going to land on a deck of an aircraft carrier. It took on a totally different expectation at that point. I was just expecting to try and live, and people don't understand. It's like when they're screaming at you. And I'll tell you what, if you've seen any of this footage, have you seen the early footage of the, what's his name? Maduro, the Venezuelan guy? And he's got all this stuff. I've got everything in the picture I was wearing except for the handcuffs. I had no handcuffs, and I think I didn't have the sunglasses that they had. I had just like a visor. But the cranial cap, the jacket, the float coat, and these guys are describing like, what's he wearing? Like the news people, and I'm going, yeah, what's he wearing? And the general's like, well, that's a float coat. Generally, what will happen is when you go into the water, it automatically hits salt water and inflates to help you out. It's just like if they can find you if you fell off the deck of the Nimitz, and I'm like, you fell 60 feet. I mean, you're dead because you hit the water like cement. But it was just so bizarre to think that because of the fact that I took a risk against everything in my body going, don't go to this, you're going to freak out. The experience was greater than I could have ever expected. And the people that I talked to, they go, you were shot off of an aircraft, you landed on, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what are your thoughts on it? And I said, do it once and never do it again. But to me, it's like people don't appreciate what the military goes through, these kids, and they're out at sea for 3 or 4 months. I mean, coming up on the deck of an aircraft carrier and seeing the sunrise 200 miles off the coast of Hawaii, and just going, my God, what am I doing here? This is a moment of gratitude. I'm coming up on the elevator that brings the jets up. We've got like our dolly guy, just a little dolly grip, and then my camera crew, which is on the shoulder ENG style, with the guy with the boom mic and me. And it was just like, talk about not the right stuff. We're just coming up, and they're like, look at these guys. I said we should just keep going back down, because you're standing on the deck of an aircraft carrier out to sea, and not everybody gets to do that. And that's why I try to say to folks, don't stop living. And I am guilty as charged almost every day. I got to buck myself up, which is why this is called Why I Rise. because we want to talk to you. We want to hear stuff from your end, but we also like to emote our own experiences. So it's a give and take. It's like, we're the bartender that when you sit down, he gives you a beer and you want to tell him your problems. And he goes, well, hang on, let me tell you what's going on with me. And for the next hour, you're taking care of the bartender. It's the reverse psychology of the bartender, That's it.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Yeah. Peace out. But you are amazing. I mean, it's not a failure. I want people to understand that it's not a failure if they don't do what Alexandra has done. I have a very good friend, Paula, and she did exactly the same thing, Alexandra, that you did. I mean, she was getting divorced, and she's also getting I think she has 2 or 3 PhDs in neurology. And we did a little podcast. She started a thing for her on behalf of her mom called Park for Life. And I think you can find it out there in the ether. But I came in and sat with her, and it was her take as a caregiver and my take as a person with Parkinson's. And it's just amazing the things that nobody knows. I mean, this is going to on the borderline of being grotesque. But the fact of when you can no longer wipe your bottom and somebody in your family has to wipe your bottom, and it's like, okay, that's when you gotta go, all right, how long until that, will the next train come? And it's just like, because it's humiliating. But when I had that heart surgery, all the in the cardio wing, all the nurses and specialists wear a button that says, have you pooped today? Have you pooped today? Because they will not let you leave until you've had a bowel movement. And I would be like, I think I'm going to go. And they'd be like, okay, come on. And the girl would come in and put the thing down as like a whatever potty thing. And I wouldn't be able to go. And then finally when I was able to go, she said, just stand there, hold on to the railing. And just the experience of that was, in my world, uber humiliating.
Of course.
Because I don't want anybody to do that for me ever. And if somebody said, hey, that's it, I draw the line there. I mean, when my dad had a stroke, which is about 3-4 years ago now, and he can't really communicate well, he'll go like, hey, Alexandra, how you doing? And you're like, good. Joe, how are you? And then it's like, you don't know what he's talking about. But he's telling you something. He's telling you something. And ours is a great puzzle to figure it out. But we had to care, certain in-home care, that they would come like 3 hours a day and take care of you. Like, they go, we don't wipe any bottoms. And I'm like, well, that doing the laundry my mom can do, getting him out of the shower and getting him dressed and getting him to the bathroom. And I mean, my poor brother, who is the youngest of 4, was like, yeah, you guys, we all took a couple of weeks and stayed with him right after he got back from the hospital. He was in the hospital for quite a long time. And I just remember my brother going, yeah, I'll never volunteer to be the first one in on anything. Because by the time you guys came around, I think I was in the 3rd wing. He's like, yeah, he remembers how to wipe his butt now. And I was like, oh man, I just couldn't believe it. But it's something that nobody tells you about. How do you prepare for that, Alexandra?
You can't prepare for that.
Right.
I don't think you can prepare for any of it. Look, for me to get through it, it was one of my best friends. I mean, I would just call her crying a lot of days. A lot of days. I cried a lot, not so much in public. I would go out with a smile on my face, but it's so hard to watch your parents have to go through something like that. My mother was an elegant woman. She
Yep.
hated every minute of it, but what are you going to do? You just have no choice. I guess you have no choice.
That's really true. That's really true, because I used to tell people, my wife passed from breast cancer, and I used to tell people, they go, how do you do it? I go, I cry at red lights.
I love rush hour traffic on the 405.
I just wait for the red light, and then okay, I'll go. Yeah. I cry at red lights. Cry in the bathroom works too. So anyway, yeah, you don't know.
Cry everywhere.
Oh no, I'm a man. I only cry at red lights.
Let's I was going to come up with a joke for that, but I'm going to let it go. Let's end big, and you're always welcome to be on this show, whatever you want to talk about, whenever you want to talk about it. I mean, this is great. I've only seen pictures of you, so now to see you in person, and it's like immediately makes me want to like hang out, and say hi,
Yeah.
and so what I want to do is end kind of on a note because we have, I think we're hitting our limit on Zoom, but I'm not sure. Occasionally, Vinny, do you still see a record button going on your end?
No, but I'm not on that screen.
Okay,
I'm not. Is anyone recording this?
I,
no. This is
I'm
all
joking. I'm
this is
joking.
all transcribed.
Yeah.
I will write a letter. But
Recording.
Alexandra, I mean, if there's the one thing, like taking care of somebody's hygiene is, was there kind of for fodder. But in a serious note, if there's one thing you learned or one thing you did or one thing you never thought you could get through, to tell other caregivers that it's a really, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to anybody who's going through care, but it's really many times a thankless job, because especially folks that are having problems with their minds, they can't get the words out properly. It becomes frustrating for them, and then that frustration gets bounced to you. What's the best thing that you could lay on people to say, take away? If you're going to take away anything, this is what you should take away, or can.
The caregivers,
Yeah.
I would say, as hard as it is, as much as you want to stop or feel like this, I don't know. I just want to say you'll never regret it
Right.
if you do it with love. That's
Right.
what I say. And you don't, even if you don't feel like you're doing it with love, the fact that you're doing it is because you love that person.
Absolutely.
So it's be easy on yourself on the days that you're not feeling the kindness of like, I'm helping.
Yeah.
Coming off is like, I can't believe I have to be doing this right now. Right? It doesn't matter. The fact, obviously, if you can have that positive attitude all the time, great. But I don't regret any of it. And in hindsight, I'm so thankful because everything that you do in life teaches you something. And these aren't things that you're going to learn in school or on Instagram or on TikTok or even from reading a book. It's strange to have a lived experience that's not so glamorous, but it puts you in a very exclusive club because it gives you a different, it's almost like you get to be in like a private club that you only get to be in if you've lived through it.
Right.
So yeah.
And I also wonder, Paula talks about this in the sense that as hard as it was, like she tried to be very, very upbeat, and like, her mom would have trouble getting down the stairs. So she'd say, well, sit on your bottom, mom, we'll slide down together. And it was just like, just like when you would do with a kid when they were first starting to traverse that area. But I got to imagine, much like a wonderful book called Tuesdays with Maury. I don't know if you've ever read that, but both of you, to a huge degree, have gone with environments that are just brutal. And I'm looking at the two of you and I'm thinking to myself, what beautiful people these are, because they gave a portion of their life. You started at 14. You got married when, might I ask?
39. 39 or 38. God, I
You
can't
you were married in 39?
No, I got married in 20. I'm 45. I got married in 2019.
Okay, I was going to say, well, this girl she's got the fountain of youth. How did she? Vinny, get something from her. I need the fountain of
I've
youth.
only been married for 6 years, but I took care of my mother from basically I didn't take care of her when I was 14. When it started getting bad, it was more like 18 with small stuff. But she only went into a nursing home, I think, when I was 33.
So
So
she lived a long time. I mean, she went in at what? She passed at what age, might I ask?
80, 88, 80, 88, 87. I'm
That's
so bad. I'm sorry. I'm
no. Because what I was going to say is, you probably because you did it more than your sisters could. you had an opportunity to be with your mom and your dad in a way that nobody else, to the degree,
Yes.
had. And that experience is, we forget to look at that. And I think, because again, it goes back to my diatribe about people going, oh, life sucks and I got this disease and, I got to worry about this guy down here who's going to kill my cat and blah, 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 whatever. I'm just rambling at this point. But what's weird is when I see people talking about this, I'm like, you got to be with dad, or you got to be with mom, or you got to be with your sister in a way that most people, like you said early on, avoid, because I just can't see Vinny that way. I mean, I knew Vinny when we were warriors, and I don't want to know that Vinny's, 6 pounds or whatever like that. I mean, I don't, and Vinny would understand, but Vinny would also appreciate if I came by and said, hey, you look great. No, you don't. And so my point is, have you been able to give yourself that gratitude? It sounds like you have, but would you tell people to take that moment and look at the gratitude, and look at the hidden meanings in all of this that have been given to you?
Yes. I look back and I'm like, I wish I took it in more so I could remember it more, because they were the best years. They were the hardest years and the best years.
Best years.
In their own way, and
Right.
nothing can replicate them. I mean, we had the best laughs at the darkest things. My sense of humor is very dark. I mean, smile a lot, but it's also there when you're sick. I think there's less room for falsehood. So
Yeah.
much truth in the home, and I think I got so comfortable with the truth, and I see so many people in the world that have just such a hard time with that.
Yep.
And that's where I'm like, wait, I don't fit in with most people. And I think it's because of that experience that I had and how I live my life, which is, I find it so much easier to live in a hard truth than to avoid it.
Well, I think many people. I used to really struggle with the word vulnerable, because I thought it meant weakness. In other words, you were Achilles' heel. If they could get that, that's where he was vulnerable. If you could get a arrow slung into Achilles' heel,
Right.
he would die. And I think about that, because what changed it for me was one day when I realized that being vulnerable allows you to eliminate shields. So therefore you don't see what's going on in front of you when the shields are up. But when the shields go down, you realize that you're doing something like, I never knew my mom had this, or I never knew my mom did that, or I never knew my dad was the fifth Beatle, you know what I mean? Or whatever it may be. But the idea that we take vulnerable as a weakness, I think it's a blessing if you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, because then you can absorb more. And very few people look at it. It's like, but I say that, and then my ego goes, well, wait a minute, you don't like the word surrender either. And I'm like, that sounds like I'm being captured. You know what I mean? Like, you got to surrender to the love, man. I'm like, just pick another word. How about embrace the love? Why do I got to surrender?
But isn't that what life is all about, is putting the ego in check? I mean, whether it's from being sick, or from having some other hard thing happen to you, it's all about putting the ego in check and just being honest.
Right.
Matters.
And you find that, I mean, Vinny and I talk about a lot of our deep stuff. We also talk about, sports and our teams. But I think that nobody is perfect, and nobody's going to be the way you want them to be. And so a lot of times you don't realize that your friendship suffers because of you. You think it's them, but the reality is that you don't want to meet them at their line. I mean, people can do only so much. And the expectation is, I hear this all the time. Well, you volunteered, you better do the work, because, it's a volunteer job. I mean, volunteer jobs don't have to be difficult. It's the managers make them difficult, or people that are putting bodies together. But most people are there like, I did this volunteer thing, which I would love to go back and do for the Patriots, where they make them like a little care box. And they put like some granola bars in there, and one of those rope things that they wear on their wrists, and all this stuff. And all we did, I swear to you, all we did is Heidi and I talked the whole time. And I carry this box around, and I'd be like, there you go. And they'd take the box and they'd put the stuff in it and give it back to me, and I'd walk it down. They had no conveyor belt. So it was a human conveyor belt. We started talking to these guys that were veterans of this war, veterans of that war. And the line would go all the way out the building, into another building, like a figure eight, coming back. And I was like, I could do this job 7 days a week. I love to bullshit and talk. I can still walk. My wife was with me, which made it even better. But I have a strong military background in my family. And my daughter is getting, by the way, my daughter's getting married February 21st. So I need to be able to walk down the aisle. That's another
You
reason.
will.
That's another
Hey,
reason why I have that walking
mazel
stick.
tov.
But, she's marrying a Marine pilot. And I'm just like, I should have just gone into, I should have been a firefighter or something like that, but I chose the entertainment industry. But I think the reality of it is that if we were just a little bit more vulnerable or a little bit more welcoming to people, I think they naturally by osmosis, it comes back. And I think you just have to be open to what your relationship is with each and every person. Like you mentioned, you cry to your best friend. Is she still your best friend?
Yes, and sometimes I'm like, what happened? Because she remembers things like you say, you black out certain things, like when it's
Right.
really hard. And like, she'll remind me, oh yeah, you did this. Oh my gosh, it was so hard when you had to do that. Oh yes. Like, she's still the person I call when I just need to have perspective and get it all out.
Yeah, those friendships are important. But what you did was extremely important. I have no regrets either. I just used to make sure at the end of every day when my wife would go to sleep before me, I would just say, did I do everything I possibly could have done today to keep her alive and to keep her comfortable? And it sounds like you did the exact same thing. And then you had your mother who graciously said, I really should go into an assisted living because that's usually the biggest battle.
Yeah.
They don't want to, and she graciously did that. Without even being there, Alexandra, I know you did a good job, and it is rewarding. It is rewarding because no one else was doing it but you.
It's such a privilege. That's the funny thing. It's like I hear you say this, and yes, it's so nice that you tell me it's so great what I did, but really, I'm like, it was such a privilege.
Yeah, you bet.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was easy to do.
Oh,
Giving is hard. You don't take care of yourself, and but it's the biggest privilege and the biggest honor, and I do think it's something that I hope to instill in my children is we take care of the elderly, we take care of the sick, and it's not for them.
that's right.
Not for them. It's for us.
You can drop the mic now. We're done. You can do your mic drop. There you go.
How was it?
Love having you here. So gracious. So wonderful to see you in person. We'll do it again. The golf tournament is June 23rd.
Okay.
Out in Moore Park. And I'm sure Vinny will be there because he just likes hearing all the stories.
I come for the food.
And the charcuterie boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love because there's not that many people with Parkinson's that are there. Like Russell's dad shows up.
Yeah.
I love that guy. From the minute I met him, the first time I was there, I spoke, and he came all the way from where he was with like 5 guys around him. Like he had his own security detail, and he wanted to talk to me because I had just like spoken about. I don't even remember what the first one was. I was like out of my mind, but I was like, this guy I could easily like hang with for hours and just chat about stuff. And I met his mom and his sister and his beautiful wife, Amy. But I would love for people to be able to go, like, I'll leave you with one thought. When somebody says to me, what's it like having Parkinson's? What does it feel like? I say, well, I'm sure for everybody it's a little bit different. But for me, you remember as a kid when you used to go to the dentist? Yeah. And they they're going to take you exercise, they put that big lead blanket on you, that lead weighted blanket. I'm like, yeah. And try to get up. Or better yet, walk in a 4-foot deep pool of molasses and feel what it's like. It feels like you're not firing on all cylinders. And I think that, when you have the ability for people to understand and get perspective on what Parkinson's is, you have a better chance of locking them into the cause and making them be the next generation of people who fight this fucking disease to the end. I mean, the fact that we call ourselves fighters, it's like, God, I don't want to be a fighter. I want to be a lover. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course. Yes.
But if I look like Jason Momoa, then I want to be a fighter and a lover. But, my physique didn't build out that way. And that's, again, my fault. But anyways, I'm sure they'll cut this out. But anyway,
I'm saying one more thing at the end because I did
Please.
about this, and don't quote me, but this is what I read. There is science that came out now where you can rebuild the gray matter in your brain by learning, music, doing the really hard
Right.
things, learning how dance moves, like all those things you could actually not fight Parkinson's in like a regular sense, but you could improve your brain. Like there are things that people could even proactively do
No, you're absolutely correct. It's
when
called
they get,
neuroplasticity.
yes, neuroplasticity. Thank you.
And what a lot of people talk about is the idea behind. In fact, there's a great book if you can find. Oh well, you don't need to find it. I was thinking that your mom was still with us. See how I slipped into that thing like that care mode. But there was a guy who wrote a book, and it was called Reverse Parkinson's. His name was John Pepper. I think he not finally, passed recently. He's fucking gone, thank God. But what was interesting is he wrote this book on his own. He had to self-publish it because he had a forward from a medical doctor, and he claims that the pharmaceutical company said, we don't want this book out there telling people how to reverse their Parkinson's. And what he did is a thing called fast walking. And the idea was you walk at a very fast clip, you focus on the walking, and then he had these, like, you go this far and you go this far and you go this far. And he said what happens is in the fight or flight mechanism, like I could paint a picture for you and you could tell me, especially for women, you make the turn down an alley, all of a sudden it's not the alley you thought it was, it's a little bit darker, and you can hear all of a sudden your spidey sense goes up like that, and you're just like, I can hear that mouse on the garbage 60 feet down there. I can hear the water dripping from that apartment, because your senses are all put up here in your what they call the lizard brain.
Right.
And what happens is the body doesn't know what to do. The body's like, are we running? Are we walking? What are we doing? And in that state of fight or flight is when you can actually teach the brain new things. And it's fascinating. I mean, it's fascinating work, but unfortunately we're a society that goes, can I have my meds? And because it'll make everything feel better. And it does. I'm not bashing pharmaceuticals in the least bit.
Yeah.
I don't like side effects. There should be no side effects to a drug that is working to fix your body. It just shouldn't. It's like a wicked price to pay. It's like, you can do this, but it's going to cost you your first daughter. It's going to cost you your son. He's going to have to go and fight in the war, and he probably won't come back, but we'll make sure you're okay. It feels like sometimes you're bartering with your life. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but that neuroplasticity, is that what you said? That's
correct.
Yeah. Alexandra, I've been reading about that too, because I think everybody should do it. You don't have to be afflicted with anything to just keep learning. And I'm very fortunate that I have a thirst for knowledge. I get really interested in the most strange things, and it really does help. I sat next to a guy in a plane who had a business that cleaned the vents in restaurants, and he was just coming back with from a meeting at Yankee Stadium, and he was going to do all the vents, and this was going to be a big score for him. And I was fascinated. I never thought of who's cleaning the vents. That's all PC stuff. So yeah, I think, like you said, learning music, it's never too late. I had an uncle who picked up.
Never too early, never too late. Just do it.
Just do it. So I think that's a real positive message to end on.
Okay.
To let everybody.
Okay.
That's it. And I hope we see you again, at least at the golf tournament.
Russell's in charge of my schedule. He asks me to show up. I'm there.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Okay. It was such a pleasure to meet the two of you. Thank you for making me, think about these things, because you go on with life, and I don't really forget, but I don't always dig,
It's great to talk about because other people can learn from you. We both did.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And by the way, I mean, you live in LA, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Don't say no more. I just want to make sure I get it right, because I for some reason thought you're on the East Coast. So.
Because I walk like an East Coaster. I'm a fast walker.
then you can get some neuroplasticity rocking and rolling by the next time we see you.
You know it. Hey.
All right, Alexandra, thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing about your mom. She's amazing.
Until the next time, thank you for showing up and bringing your sense of humor and your honesty, because you've been so candid with everything.
I mean, seriously, when you look at it, it's like the greatest and saddest like thing all mixed together, but it's like, it's what I got. So you either do something with it or shuffle off. All right, guys, I'm losing my battery, so I'm going to drop this.
Bye.
Love to all of you. Have a great weekend.